Hello everybody and welcome back to my continuation of my book reading of Stephen King's The Body. And I am at chapter 11 called Night Sweats. We showed old Milo that we were no pussies, Vern said. Right, agreed Teddy. You bet we did. Although I enjoyed the victory too. I was worried. Perhaps Milo would go to the police. Perhaps those 4 tails on the coins were a sign of bad luck. What were we doing anyway, going to look at the broken body of some poor guy that a train had hit? But we were doing it, and none of us wanted to stop. We had almost reached the bridge which carried the tracks across the river when Teddy suddenly burst into tears. He fell to the ground, shaking with the violence of the storm that had come on him. None of us knew what to do. This wasn't the kind of crying that we're used to when we felt off your bike or something. Hey man, Vern said in a very thin voice. Chris and I looked at Vern hopefully. Hey man was always a good start. But Vern couldn't go on. At last, when the force of his crying has lessened a bit, it was Chris who went to him. Chris was the hardest guy in our gang, but he was also a guy who made the best peace. He was good at it. I've seen him sit down on the pavement next to a small boy he didn't even know, who had hurt his knee, and get him talking about something until the boy forgot his pain. Listen, Teddy. Does it matter what a fat old bag of puke like him said about your father? It doesn't change anything, does it? Does it? Teddy shook his head. No, it didn't change anything. But this was something he had thought about on those long, lonely nights when he couldn't sleep, and hearing it spoken aloud in the daytime, realizing in the clear light of day that everyone else in the world considers your father a madman. That had shaken him up. He still fought on the beaches of Normandy, didn't he? Chris went on. He took one of Teddy's hand. Teddy nodded fiercely. Do you think that pile of garbage was at Normandy? Teddy shook his head violently. No. Do you think that guy knows your father? No. Talk is cheap. Teddy nodded, but still didn't look up. And whatever there is between you and your father, talk can't change that. He was just trying to get you to climb back over the fence, man. He doesn't know anything about your father. He only heard stuff from people he drinks with, that's all. Teddy had nearly stopped crying now. He wiped his eyes and sat up. I'm okay, he said. And the sound of his own voice seemed to persuade him he was right. Yes, I'm okay. He stood up, put his glasses back on. He laughed thinly and wiped his bare arm across his nose. I am a crybaby, right? No, man, Vern said uncomfortably. If anyone said those kind of things about my father, then you have them killed. Teddy said, right, Chris? Right, said Chris and slapped Teddy on the back. Right, Gordy? Yeah, right. I was wondering how Teddy could care so much for his dad, who had almost killed him, and how I didn't either love or hate my father, who had never even beaten me as far as I could remember. We walked on down the tracks for another 200 yards, and then Teddy said in a quiet voice, if I spoiled your good time, I'm sorry. I'm not sure I want it to be a good time, Vern said suddenly. Chris looked at him. Are you saying you want to go back? No, Vern's face showed that he was trying to work out how to say what he was thinking. But we're going to see a dead guy. That shouldn't be like going to a party. I mean, I couldn't even get a little frightened, if you know what I mean. I can't even talk anymore. I could even get a little frightened, if you know what I mean. Nobody said anything, and Vern went on. I mean, sometimes I'm in bed at night, and maybe I've been reading a frightening magazine or something, and I start wondering whether there's anything under my bed, you know? Something with a green face and blood on his hands, which might reach up and grab me. We all began to nod. We all knew about the night sweats. I certainly didn't imagine that in about a dozen years I'd turned a simple example of the night sweats into $1 million. So you see, if this body we're going to see is really bad, maybe I'll start dreaming and imagining him under my bed. But I feel as if we still have to see him. But maybe it shouldn't be a good time. Right, Chris said softly. Maybe it shouldn't. You won't tell anyone else what I said, will you? Vern said. The other guys wouldn't understand. We all said we wouldn't. We walked on in thoughtful silence. It wasn't yet 3 o'clock, but it seemed much later. We hadn't even reached Harlow yet. We were going to have to move faster. Around 3:30, we arrived at the Castle River and the bridge which crossed it. And that was the end of chapter 11, Night Sweats. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.